This is an M1 Max MacBook Pro. This computer is what I edit all of my videos on. This video is for anyone upgrading from an older Intel Mac and wondering about whether it's worth it to save some money by getting one of these rather than a brand new M3 or mostly new M2 MacBook Pro. Because you can get your hands on this very computer for about half of the M3 version. I got this right when they came out in 2021, and I'm usually a bit of a serial upgrader when it comes to my computers. I'll typically go like every other new MacBook that comes out, and then I'll just sell my previous one for whatever, something like half the cost of the new one, so it always feels like it's half price and I always have the shiniest, newest MacBook. I know that's wasteful, but whatever, I do it. But this computer changed all that. This M1 Max, this now 3 generations old computer, is still so fast that I'm not even sure how I would use a new one any differently. I had some problem with my SD card slot last year and brought this thing in, and it turned out they had to keep it for like 5 days so they could replace the logic board. So while it was gone, I bought an M2 Max Studio. The Apple Store actually told me to buy it and then just return it when my computer came back, so I did. I half figured when I got that thing home and started playing with it, I would be in a bit of trouble, and I thought I would have a hard time giving it back, and I would end up just upgrading to the M2 Max because A, the Studio computer should be faster than a laptop already, and the M2 is obviously a jump from the M1. Much to my surprise, I got the M2 home, set it all up, and I edited a video with it, and I honestly couldn't feel a single difference with that computer. I use my laptop with an external keyboard, and I have it docked to the Studio display, so using the M2 Max Studio was the same setup, and the speed of everything didn't feel any different. Like, yes, of course, it is technically faster, and the M3 will be even faster still. It's a demonstrably better computer on every single benchmark. But video editing isn't benchmarking. It's almost like Apple screwed up a little bit by making this thing a little ahead of its time as far as video editing power is concerned. This computer, the M1, is already so fast. I mean, even if you're doubling the speed of what it can do for a regular task, we're talking about waiting a half a second instead of a whole second to load up a video project in Final Cut Pro. You're seeing footage right now from my M1, switching from my house update video to the Monkey Seagull video, and it's literally less than a second. Everything already happens so instantly that making it twice as fast doesn't really change my quality of life at all. Let's set up something right now that would historically destroy even a beefy desktop computer. Hang on. Video editing is by far the most challenging thing I ask my computer to do. 4K video editing makes it harder still. Simultaneously playing back 3 4K angles is even harder still. And running all 3 camera angles at original quality without making proxy files used to be just insane. And finally, doing all of this while mixing in H.265 HAVCS, advanced Sony video compression. Even now on a beefed up Windows desktop, that just doesn't work. This is all the original files. This is running at full resolution. 2 of these streams, this one and that one, are in H.265. I don't do a ton of effects on my video, but let's just slap on a cartoon effect on top and have that run real time. And blam! M1 doesn't mind a bit. You're seeing playback from editing this video that I'm recording now. Starting with the M1, Apple put an additional piece of hardware on the SoC specifically to deal with H.264 and H.265 video encoding and decoding. That sentence is a mouthful. And that means the processors don't have to do the work of like playing back those video formats, which frees up the processor to work on the hard things like overlays or animated effects while the decoder works on just playing back the 4K streams. I don't do a ton of layered effects on my videos. Ooh, Andy's texting me right now. I don't do a ton of layers of effects on my videos, and it's possible that if your videos have huge numbers of layered animated text and overlays while also playing multiple streams of 4K video at original resolution, you might find an excuse to need the M3 over the M1. But you'd be in a pretty niche group at that point. Scrubbing through the video is super responsive, hitting play, cutting, hitting stop, moving things around, it all just works without any delays. What you're seeing here on the screen right now in like 2019 would have been a marvel, and it also would have been fake because those Intel machines just can't handle it. I would recommend getting 32 gigabytes of RAM, and here's why. So this computer has 10 compute cores. The few things that do take time, like exporting a 10-minute video for YouTube, I notice no slowdown whatsoever if I go on over to Lightroom to work on a thumbnail while that's happening. With a ton of RAM, you can have Final Cut, Lightroom, and Photoshop all open at the same time without even hitting a page out in your RAM, which means essentially none of these processes are any slower than if you were doing them one at a time. So you can continue editing pictures while the export happens, or put on a video, and nothing will stutter at all. As far as other, like, regular computer things, of course this computer is more than capable of doing whatever you need. Have a couple of dozen tabs open on Chrome while checking emails on Outlook, while a video plays on a second 4K screen, while streaming music to a different room. That's pretty sweet. I did find one regular task where having a faster processor will make a meaningful difference. If you're someone with an Insta360 X3 M3 and you make really long videos, for whatever reason, the export from the Insta360 app into a file that you can use in Final Cut Pro takes a super long time, like an hour for 40 minutes of video. If we could slash that in half with an M3, I could see that being meaningful, if that's the type of video that you make all the time. I just use this camera for little B-roll things or sometimes hard to reach places, so I usually just start doing something else on my computer while that process plays out, and it doesn't slow me down at all. But my clips are a few seconds long. If you make those walking through a city for 2 hours videos, getting an M3 instead of an M1 will be a big upgrade. I'm gonna go ahead and skip M2 and M3, and it's looking more and more like they're gonna be seriously beefing up the neural engine in the next crop of Apple stuff to bring AI to a place where Siri can actually be an assistant rather than just answering questions like she does now. And if that happens, count me in for M4. But for now, I'm settling with the M1. So far, there is no compromise.